Hello again, it's Locknoob, and I've got a little bit of time that I can spend doing some little lockpicking projects. And one of those projects is to have a go at applying some quick handles to some Sparrows picks. Um, so, what do I mean by quick handles? Well, this is a Sparrows short hook in 25 thousandths of an inch. Very good profile, really love it. But the pick without a handle, quite comfortable. The thermoplastic handles that Sparrows actually provide, really nice. I actually really like these. They're nice and comfortable, nice and thin, allow you to pick for quite some time without fatiguing your hands. And there are so many things that you can actually make pick handles out of. I mean, pretty much any material. But two materials which I think stand out in terms of effectiveness and ease of use are, one, some ice lolly sticks. That's what we call them in the UK. No idea what you call them in the US. And these are usually made of something like beech, which has some really good anti-splinter properties. And you can see here that something like this Sparrows hook, if epoxied with a really good epoxy, not a cheap one from a pound shop, epoxied into in between two lolly sticks and shortened to about 8.5 centimeters, which seems to be about right for a pick handle. That would make quite a slim and very effective pick handle. I'm not going to try this one today though, just because I've got plans for another lollipop stick handle in a later video. The other one, the other sort of supposedly quick handle that you can do is to take something like brass tubing and essentially epoxy in the pick after beating it flat. Now, this Sparrows pick just about fits, which means that when I beat it flat, this will become a little bit wider by about that much, I imagine. So it will provide a slightly wider pick handle, and what I intend to do is actually beat this semi-flat, then apply some epoxy, slide it in, and then sort of beat it closed and then clamp it, and that should provide enough sort of grip. Credit where credit's due. A lot of these ideas have come from the community, notably the excellent work by Meme or Mimi. I never figured out how to pronounce his name or his avatar, from the UK Locksport forum, who he has been a real inspiration in terms of trying to encourage people to think outside the box in terms of pick making and handle making. So there we go. Okay, so how am I going to do this video? Well, I'm going to have to cut away while I do bits and bobs on this handle. Okay, so I'll probably keep coming back until we get something finished. And the epoxy I'm going to use is JB Weld, and this at least takes overnight, so this isn't going to be a quick video. Alright, I'll see you shortly. Okay, so where have we got to? Well, I've taken this piece of brass tubing outside, and it's now pretty flat, but not so flat that I can't slide in the pick. And you can see that, yeah, probably go a couple of millimeters wider, but that's still going to be really, really, really nice and comfortable. I cut this off as about 8.5 centimeters, so even with a little bit poking out like that to the pick, which is sort of my preference, that's still going to be quite big enough and really quite comfortable. So the trick is to put on a sparing amount of epoxy both sides and then hammer it flat without making a massive mess of my small bench anvil. You'll also notice that something's happened to the pick handle. Completely on purpose, I've roughed this up with a bastard file because I can't really get inside the tubing to sort of make it more grippy for the epoxy, but what I can do is I can make the handle very notchy and rough so that the epoxy will grip this as it sets. To try and get a nice finish, and of course I'll sand it down afterwards, and probably use a Dremel to get a nice round end. I'll be using this this flat jeweler's hammer to make sure that this gets a nice flat even finish as much as possible before we get going. Okay, so I'm going to go back outside and I'm going to mix some epoxy, stick that on, beat this to death, and I'm going to bring it up to the camera and I'm going to show you where we're at in a second. So here we are. As you can see, I've tried to beat the brass pipe flat and even, and try not to get it flared too much. There's a little flaring at the end, but that doesn't matter because we're going to grind this off nice and round, and same at the tip, so you don't have any kind of sharp edges. Try to keep it in line with the curvature of the metal towards the pick shaft itself. As you can see, it looks really dirty and grimy, but trust me, after a little bit of sanding and a little bit of polishing, this will look quite beautiful. So hopefully next time you see this, it will look almost in its finished state. And here is the final handle that's been just sanded down, polished up a bit, rounded off at the edges. You can see if I hold it in the light there where I've got some of the hammer marks across the middle here. That's probably just a lack of practice, and well, I quite like it actually. That's the thing, I quite like that kind of rustic look. If you don't and you want to have a more even look, what you could do is with a strong engineer's vise with flat edges, you could probably crush tubing down if it was strong enough, or you could just take a little bit more time using a flat hammer to get a better finish. But overall, I think that that's a pretty nice and pretty quick handle, and it's very comfortable actually, especially with these rounded edges. I made this about 8 to 8.5 centimeters. That's actually really nice because I tend to pick supporting about there. You can probably see where I'm picking today. So this is sort of perfect. So you know, it's just one more thing for you to try, isn't it? So thank you for watching. Hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you next time.